Ottawa, Canada's capital, is under siege this week. The mayor has declared a state of emergency as we enter the 11th day of the Freedom Convoy, where truckers have converged to protest the vaccine mandate. See, we not only have idiots in America, they're all over the place. And it's nice to see that Canada can be just as stupid as we are. Truck convoys have also gathered in provincial capitals and brought traffic to a halt. The demonstrations were triggered by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's demand that truckers returning from the United States show proof of vaccination. And it's not just truckers, of course, as more Canadians have shown up to support them in Ottawa, calling for an end to mask mandates. More civilians have joined them. It's called the Freedom Convoy, and it seems to have been organized by center-right politicians from the newly formed Maverick Party, which wants to separate Canada's three Western provinces from the rest of the country. This falls into a pattern. We are seeing secessionists who are anti-vaxxers, which is why there are reports of some of these protesters waving the Confederate flag. Wherever the Confederate flag is, the Nazi flag is sure to follow, and it has. We've also seen the Nazi flag in Ottawa because the flags of secessionists, Nazis, and anti-vaxxers are all cut from the same cloth. Now, Canada has about 300,000 truckers, which is why Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has referred to these truckers as a fringe minority, and so far, he has refused to meet with them. Close to 80% of Canadians are fully vaccinated, despite the problematic rollout they had last year with the COVID-19 vaccine, and 90% of Canadian truckers are fully vaccinated. The latest polling shows that 2/3 of Canadians say they don't agree with the truckers who, for the past 11 days, the numbers have dwindled. It started off, I think about 8,000 people were in Ottawa when it first started. Now it's down to 5,000 this past weekend. Now, truckers are important, and I want to talk about Teamsters and truckers because truckers are some of the most informed citizens in the world. I have tremendous respect for truckers and Teamsters. They go for long stretches of time listening to books on tape, podcasts, and they are the eyes and ears of the nation. Most importantly, they control our economy. As Jimmy Hoffa, the former head of the Teamsters, would often remind everyone, if you eat, if you take a medicine, if you have a roof over your head, a trucker delivered it, because nothing, and I mean nothing, happens without truckers. Teamsters are very important. Truckers are very important. Investigative journalist Seymour Hersh, back in 1974, was working for the New York Times, and he got his hands on CIA documents showing that the American government spent close to $8 million providing strike benefits and other financial support so unions would help undermine then president of Chile, Salvador Allende, the Marxist who Henry Kissinger and Richard Nixon wanted dead, and they got their wish. They wanted Allende dead. They orchestrated a coup, and Allende was killed. The official party line is he committed suicide. He died during the coup. It started with a 26-day trucker strike in the fall of 1972 that was funded by Henry Kissinger, Richard Nixon, and the CIA. They wanted to undermine Salvador Allende, so they orchestrated a 26-day trucker strike. In the fall of 1972, they brought the Chilean economy to a screeching halt, and that set the stage for the CIA-orchestrated coup that overthrew Allende. Nixon, Kissinger, the CIA understands the power of the Teamsters, and Nixon especially wanted the Teamsters on his side. He was endorsed by the Teamsters when he ran against Kennedy in 1960. At the end of 1971, Nixon pardoned Jimmy Hoffa, the president of the Teamsters, who was serving time for jury tampering and wire fraud, thanks to Bobby Kennedy and the Kennedys going after Jimmy Hoffa. That's why the Teamsters got into bed with Nixon. And Nixon wanted to get into bed with the Teamsters. The Kennedys probably blew it going after Jimmy Hoffa when he was Attorney General. And before that, Bobby Kennedy tried to get Hoffa locked up. He didn't like Hoffa. Hoffa was bankrolling, and this is important. We're going to talk about the power of unions and how important pension funds are. Hoffa was bankrolling the mob's investment in Las Vegas with the Teamsters pension fund, right? You join the Teamsters, and whoever hires you pays you, but has to contribute to your pension fund, your retirement, and that cash built up. And Jimmy Hoffa used that cash. He lent it to the mafia. They were the Teamsters were the lenders of last resort when it came to the mafia. And this is one of the reasons the Kennedys were assassinated. I don't want to get into that, but the Teamsters wanted the Kennedys dead because the mafia wanted the Kennedys dead, because the Kennedys didn't provide air support in the Bay of Pigs when the mafia and the CIA worked in tandem to overthrow Castro and restore mob control of the casinos in Havana. Imagine Las Vegas being Cuba, and it's mob run, and you have a president who promised to give Las Vegas back to the mafia, and he fails to do it. They're going to assassinate you. They are. So Kennedys went after the Teamsters probably because corporate America loathed Jimmy Hoffa. They loathed the Teamsters. They feared the Teamsters because the Teamsters were just as corrupt, just as mobbed up as corporate America. The difference is the Teamsters spread it around, and corporate America kept it all for themselves. So corporate America has always hated the Teamsters, and they feared the Teamsters because the Teamsters can shut the economy down. So by the time Hoffa was dead, the Teamsters were reorganizing. They were getting decentralized by the new president, Frank Fitzsimmons, and the Justice Department eventually put the entire union under a consent decree. And this set the stage for exactly what corporate America wanted: massive deregulation of the trucking industry that started in the late 70s and is continuing today. Hoffa's son is now running the Teamsters, and they are now back in bed with the Democrats. The Republicans have shown themselves to be anti-union. The Teamsters supported Biden in 2020. The Democrats need the Teamsters. We need the Teamsters. Truckers are very, very important. I believe a powerful Teamsters union could destroy Amazon. We need the Teamsters. Unfortunately, truckers no longer speak as one voice. The Teamsters don't control the road, and our Justice Department has succeeded in making sure organized crime no longer has access to the Teamsters pension fund. Well, actually, that's not true. Organized crime does have access and control of the Teamsters pension funds. Organized crime has control of all our pension funds, but instead of the five families controlling our pension funds, it's the five banks. It's Goldman Sachs, it's Bank of America, it's those mobsters. The children of the five families went into banking because in the end, the mafia really was about cleaning up dirty money. So now they're all bankers. The Teamsters pension fund was stripped of all its power, exactly what corporate America wanted. The Teamsters had a massive pension, lots of cash there, and they became the lender of last resort to the mob. Imagine laws on the books now, or a labor department run by a labor leader, not Marty Walsh, the former mayor of Boston, but a real labor leader running the labor department. Imagine a president and a cabinet that insists unions wield power with their pension funds the same way Jimmy Hoffa did in the late 50s and early 60s. Now, I'm not saying the Teamsters should be handing their pension over to the mafia, but they should be hands-on when it comes to investing, especially investing in the corporations the truckers are driving for. That's how you get a seat at the table. I've talked about this before. In Germany, 40% of the board of directors of every corporation have to be workers. Well, if the unions invested in the corporations their rank and file work for, they would have to get a seat at the table. But these days, the unions turn their pensions over to money managers who turn the funds over to hedge funds. And unions are referred to now as institutional investors. And they don't trust themselves with the money. So they hand it over to charlatans, hedge fund managers, investment firms who never beat the market because it's impossible to beat the market. They charge, some of these hedge funds charge as much as 30% off all the profits, and then they take 2 to 3% off the top. So even if a hedge fund gets lucky one year and does outperform the market, by the time the hedge fund manager is busy taking his cut, the pension funds have underperformed the market. So imagine if the unions were activist investors who told the rank and file where their pension fund was being invested. We would be able to demand a seat at the corporate table and demand that more and more corporations become union signatories. Because whatever we're doing now is not working. Union membership is down in America. 250,000 fewer union members in 2021 than there were in 2020. We've talked about this. We keep being told that it's the golden age for union organizing. So far, 2 Starbucks in Buffalo. You want clout? You want corporations to sign union contracts? You do what Jimmy Hoffa did. You use your pension as a weapon. There are $36 trillion in America's pension funds. That's a lot of clout. That's a lot of money. $36 trillion in America's pension funds. You invest in-house. You invest in-house. Start buying stock in Amazon and force them to become union signatories. Ask Warren Buffett, ask people who understand investing. They will tell you that not a single money manager can outperform the market. And yet, if you belong to a union, your pension is being invested by a money manager who can't outperform the market. Pensions should be in index funds, bond funds. That's it. It's not complicated. And a lot of that money should be in the companies that the rank and file work for. The entire investment model on Wall Street is fraud. And while we're being ripped off, they are investing in corporations that weaken unions, that weaken labor in this country. Whether you like it or not, money is speech. How you spend your money, how your union invests its money is more important than political clout. In fact, that's what gives you political clout. There are $36 trillion in America's pension funds. That's a lot of speech for workers. So I hope the Teamsters get stronger. I hope we start electing politicians who want to enable the Teamsters, because we need the Teamsters. We share the road with trucks, and corporate America wants unmanned trucks. That's where we're heading with this. Self-driving trucks. Do you want to share the road with unmanned trucks? That not only spells doom for the Teamsters, it spells doom for anybody who uses the roads which have been built by your tax dollars. When we lose the Teamsters, when we lose the truckers, we lose a lot of potential political clout. The Biden administration and the Democrats should be propping up the Teamsters. Truckers should be the fifth column taking on corporate greed. The truckers, I believe more than any other group, have the power to turn this country around. You win the truckers, all of Wall Street falls in line because they can shut this economy down.